Before starting this video, I would like to give a shout out to my friends at Glaze. The Zenfone Max M2 does not have a Gorilla Glass display and the display can get scratched very easily. So if you have the Zenfone Max M2 or any other smartphone, check out their tempered glasses on glazeding.com. You can use the promo code GIZMO to save 10% off your order. Hey guys, gizmoddict here, and today we're going to review the Zenfone Max M2. So this is quite a confusing phone because even though it's a very good phone for the price, I probably still wouldn't recommend it to you. And that is majorly because Asus recently dropped the pricing of the Zenfone Max Pro M1. So now the Max Pro M1 as well as the Max M2 both sell at the same price. So then I don't see the point of selling this phone in the first place if you're going to sell both of them at the same price. But anyways, first we're going to talk about the Zenfone Max M2. We'll have an in-depth look at this phone. I'll give you guys my review. And then at the end of this video, we'll discuss if we should buy this phone or the Zenfone Max Pro M1. So without wasting any more time, let's get started with the video. So with the Max M2, Asus's major targets are the Redmi 6 Pro as well as the Realme 2. So the phones below 10,000 rupees is the target audience for this phone. And it is actually better than the Redmi 6 Pro as well as the Realme 2. On the inside, you've got a Snapdragon 632, which is actually much better than the Snapdragon 450 or the Snapdragon 625 that you get on the competition. So yeah, the Snapdragon 632 is actually great because it handles all of the day-to-day tasks very easily. I had no issues using this phone. The memory management was great and overall the day-to-day performance was very good and fluid on this phone. And when it comes to gaming as well, I think this phone performed better than the Redmi 6 Pro as well as the Realme 2. The Snapdragon 632 combined with the 720p display on this phone gave a very pleasant gaming experience. I majorly tested out PUBG on this phone and honestly I play PUBG a lot, so I like the gameplay on this phone as compared to other devices in the market. So yeah, it might not be as good as the Max Pro M1, but then if you compare it to other phones, I think the gameplay, especially the PUBG gameplay, was very good on the Max M2. And like I said earlier, the memory management was good as well and my overall user experience has been very smooth and fluid on the Zenfone Max M2. And that's majorly because of stock Android on this phone. Yes, unlike the Max M1, the Max M2 gets bare bones version of Android, so if you love stock Android, you will love this too. But the downside is that it misses out on a lot of value added features that let's say MIUI, ColorOS, or even Zen UI will give you, like call recording, dual apps, gaming mode, a couple of gestures, etc, etc. But you don't get any of this on the Max M2. So that's something that you should be keeping in your mind. And with regards to updates, I have to say that things are decent. I've gotten 2 updates till now and the recent update put this phone on the December security patch. So updates are not the fastest, but they're good, and I think this phone is getting the Android Pie update by February if I'm not wrong. So yeah, Android Pie is also coming on this phone, so you guys don't have to worry about it. Overall, the software experience has been more or less the same as I've had with the Zenfone Max Pro M1 or even the Zenfone Max Pro M2. Talking about the Max Pro M2, I actually preferred the build quality of the Max M2 than the Max Pro M2. Here you've got a metal body and from the back it looks super identical to the Max Pro M1. In fact, most of you guys wouldn't even have realized that I am currently holding the Zenfone Max Pro M1 and not the Max M2. So yeah, these two phones are identical from the back and I actually really like the blue variant of this phone. It looks quite different from the black variant, and if you're buying the Max M2, I would suggest you to go with the blue variant of this phone. So yeah, the build quality is very good, but then where things go a bit downhill is in terms of display. Although Asus has thrown in a notch here, the resolution is only 720p. The panel is not bad. We've got good colors and viewing angles, but then I personally would have preferred a 1080p display because phones like the Max Pro M1 and even the Redmi 6 Pro give you a 1080p display for the same price. And also this display is not covered by Gorilla Glass, so it can get scratched very easily as we have seen with the Zenfone Max Pro M1. So if you're buying the Max M2, go buy a tempered glass for it. And if you want the one that I have been using on my phone, I'll drop a link in the video's description. Talking about cameras, you've got a dual camera setup on the back and on the front is an 8 megapixel selfie shooter. Unfortunately, as of now, I could not get Google camera working on this phone, so don't get your hopes high. You will have to use the stock Asus app. Regardless, the performance here has been quite impressive. I put it up against the Redmi 6 Pro and in majority of the photos the Max M2 did well. It had better saturation, better dynamic range, although I was not too impressed with the rear camera portrait mode. I feel like it didn't expose the face well and Asus needs to work here. Apart from that, even in the indoor scenarios, I saw that the Max M2 held a bit more details than the Redmi 6 Pro and I prefer the output from this phone. Low light wasn't good on either of the phones, so don't get your hopes high when it comes to low light photography. The Max Pro M1 would definitely destroy the competition here with night sight and Google camera. The front facing camera was also better on the M2 as opposed to the 5 megapixel sensor on the Redmi 6 Pro. In terms of video, electronic image stabilization works very well here. The video output is actually good for a phone that is costing 10,000 rupees. And what's surprising is that Asus has also added electronic image stabilization for the front facing camera. So if you are probably vlogging or something like that, you can use that. Finally, let's talk about the max feature of the Zenfone Max M2, the battery. You've got 4000 mAh of battery inside this phone and I think it's good for a day's use. I mean, if you're a medium end user, then you might get 1.5 days of battery life. But even if you're a very heavy user, you will get through one working day without any issues. I used to normally get 5 to 6 hours of screen on time on this phone and on one day I got more than 7 hours. So yeah, the battery life is very good on this phone, you don't have to worry about it. And even the charging times are not that bad. I mean, a full charge can only take 2 hours. So I don't think it's an issue. Honestly, I don't have any complaints with the battery life or the charging times on the Zenfone Max M2. Similarly, the network reception as well as the call quality was very good on this phone. No issues there. Audio via the headphone jack as well as the audio via the loudspeaker were good. They were loud enough and I have no complaints there too. You have fingerprint sensor here and you also have a face unlock feature. Both of them work very well. The fingerprint sensor is not the fastest. It takes a second to unlock the phone, but then still it's not that bad. And you've also got face unlock which recognizes your face within 2 to 3 seconds. So no issues with that either. So overall, while the Zenfone Max M2 is a great phone, I still would not recommend it. The reason is that Asus recently dropped the pricing of the Zenfone Max Pro M1 to 9999, so now it costs the same as the Max M2. In fact, in one of the recent Republic Day sales, I think, or some other sale that Flipkart had, the Zenfone Max Pro M1 was being sold for 8999, so 1000 rupees cheaper than the Zenfone Max M2. So honestly, if I have to pick between both of these phones, I would definitely go with the Zenfone Max Pro M1. On the Max Pro M1, you've got a Snapdragon 636, you've got a full 1080p display, you've got 5000 mAh of battery, and you can install Google camera on that phone and have features like night sight. So honestly, for the same price, I don't see the point of buying the Zenfone Max M2 unless you want that notch really bad. So yeah, if I was in your place and I had a budget of 10,000 rupees, I would put my money on the Zenfone Max Pro M1 and not the Zenfone Max M2. But then even if you want to buy that phone, you can go ahead with it. It's not a bad device. I think initially Asus had the lineup right. They had the Max M1, then the Max M2, then the Max Pro M1 and then the Max Pro M2. Ever since they've dropped the pricing of the Zenfone Max Pro M1 in line with the Max M2, this phone has actually lost its value. Now the only way I would like to recommend the Zenfone Max M2 wholeheartedly is if Asus actually drops the pricing of this phone by 1500 or 2000 rupees. It makes sense then. But then right now with the same pricing as the Max Pro M1, the Max Pro M1 is a better bet. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this review of the Zenfone Max M2. I hope I cleared all of the doubts that you had in your mind, and if you guys have any more questions, then please let me know in the comments, or you can also let me know on my social media pages. The links are down below in the description box. This was my review of the Zenfone Max M2. If you guys enjoyed watching it, then please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, then let me know why didn't you like it. And if you're new here, then definitely hit the red subscribe button and press the notification bell so that you don't miss out more awesome reviews like these. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and I'll be back in the notifications very soon. Bye.